welcome to Food Decoded, where I help you to reset your relationship with food, lose weight, keep it off, eat and live healthy. My name is Yemi Fadipe. The subject we will be talking about over the next 3 videos is the subject of diabetes. Yes, we will be looking at diabetes in great depth over the next 3 episodes. We will be exploring the risk factors for diabetes, what can make you exposed to diabetes. We will be looking at healthy eating tips for those looking to prevent diabetes, as well as healthy eating tips for those who are living with diabetes and wants to manage their blood glucose levels. We would also be having a session around diabetes facts and myths. You know I like things like that. So if you have not subscribed to this channel, this is the time to do so. I would like you all, when you watch these videos, to please share this with your friends and your family members. It is no hidden fact that diabetes is prevalent among the Black community. There's hardly any one of us who does not know another person that is diabetic. So don't keep this information to yourself. By clicking share on this video, you could be saving somebody's life. So what is diabetes? Let's just get into it straight away. In simple layman language, diabetes is a disease condition characterized by too high blood glucose level. And this happens either when your body is unable to produce an hormone called insulin, in which case we call that type 1 diabetes, or if your body is producing insulin but it is either not enough or ineffective, and in this case we call it type 2 diabetes. That's the basic difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 1, your body just naturally cannot produce insulin, and type 2, your insulin is insufficient or ineffective. Insulin is this hormone that is produced in your pancreas, and its job is to help to regulate your blood glucose level. Note, I'm not saying blood sugar, I'm saying blood glucose. It helps to regulate your blood glucose level and to turn the food that you eat to energy. In a body that does not have diabetes, this is how things should work normally. The food that you eat gets broken down to glucose. When that glucose enters into your bloodstream, your pancreas receives a signal to say glucose has arrived. And at that point, it releases insulin. This insulin then helps the glucose to be able to go into the blood cells, into the cells where it's going to be converted to energy. At the same time as doing this, the insulin hormone also sends a signal. Honestly, the way our body operates, God is just marvelous. Insulin then sends a signal to the liver that we've got glucose, some glucose is gone into the blood cells, they are being converted to energy. Can you please store up any excess glucose, any excess blood glucose? That is the work of insulin. So the blood glucose is going into the cells. When that happens, it's a signal that the pancreas is doing its job because it's released insulin, and insulin is just transferring the blood glucose into the cell. Now, as this continues to happen, the glucose level in the blood starts to drop because it's being transported into the cells where it's being converted to energy. And the liver then gets to know that this person needs a bit more glucose, and whatever blood glucose excess that it stored before, it then releases it into the body. So that way, insulin is regulating your blood glucose so that you don't have too low or too much at any point in time. That is just the simplest way I can explain this science. When we do this in the university, it's like complex diagrams and all of that, but I think this is as simple as I can go with this. I can't go any simpler. I'm so sorry. So by so doing anyway, it means that when you need energy, your body is able to produce the energy that it needs because the insulin is just doing the job of moving the blood glucose into the right place at the right time, getting the liver to store what needs to be stored, and the liver knows when to release any excess when your blood glucose level is down. Basic. That's how it should work when there isn't diabetes in the body. Now, like I said earlier, type 1 is a state where your body cannot produce insulin at all. So you really don't have control over type 1 diabetes. If you have it, you have it. Sometimes it's genetic. you just can't say, oh, I don't want to have type 1 diabetes. If you have it, you have it. Type 2 diabetes, on the other hand, is the one that is actually preventable and manageable with lifestyle choices. I love that word, lifestyle choices, because I just like it when anything that says lifestyle choices, I know that, okay, at least we can do something about it. So type 2 diabetes is that one that we can actually do something about, and thankfully is the one that is most prevalent among the Black community. As a matter of fact, about 90% of people who have diabetes have type 2 diabetes. So that tells you that most diabetes cases can be managed or prevented by making the right choices, lifestyle choices in advance, or making them, once you've been diagnosed, to at least manage your condition or reverse your condition. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Sub-Saharan Africa actually has the lowest prevalence of diabetes globally, around 5.81%. However, the moment we migrate from Africa to other parts of the world, in the UK, in US and Canada, the likelihood of you having type 2 diabetes then becomes 3 times more than the white population. So it's really strange. And what that reflects is what we call nutrition transition. We often think that we only migrate, geographically, but every time we move from one region to the other, or from one social economic status to another, the way and what we eat changes. And that is what we call nutrition transition. And as that changes, our risk factors, our exposures, our protection from different health conditions also changes as we make that transition. Now, scientists don't really have the full picture yet of why certain ethnicities have a higher risk, but 3 factors have been identified so far, and they include family history, social and environmental factors. So what are the factors that could expose you to diabetes? What are the factors that could make you more likely to have type 2 diabetes than others? The first and commonest one, I'm sure you won't be surprised when I say it, is weight. About 90% of type 2 diabetes diagnosis is in people who are overweight or obese. 2 is your waist size. This is where, the reason why I like sharing this is where you as an individual can start to take control of how you monitor your body, how you look at yourself. When you look in the mirror, you're noticing some changes. Now, an increased waist size could actually increase your risk of diabetes. Bear in mind that waist size sometimes reflects the amount of adipose tissue, fat that you have in your abdominal area. We call it subcutaneous fat. Now, if your waist size as a woman is above 80 centimeters or above 94 centimeters as a man, your risk of type 2 diabetes developing is actually higher. As a matter of fact, by the time your waist size as a woman gets to 88 centimeters and for a man 102 centimeters, your risk of having type 2 diabetes is not just high, it is classified very high risk. So these are areas where you could take a tape measure yourself and just check your waist size. And if you're noticing that you're edging towards those thresholds, then you try to do some things to reduce your portion sizes, to switch to healthier products, to exercise, and just sort of try to put your weight back in check. Another risk factor for type 2 diabetes is age. Your risk of developing type 2 diabetes increases with age. Now, in the general population, this risk tends to increase, especially in the white population, it tends to increase from age 40 onwards. But among people of Black ethnicity, the risk of type 2 diabetes starts to rise from the age of 25. And if you look around very well, you would notice that we tend to have more younger people who have diabetes. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's undiagnosed, which even makes it worse. So when you start to grow older, that is not when you start to get bigger or fatter, as our culture tends to make us believe that, oh, when you're young, you're slim, as you get older, it's okay to be fat. No, because already age is already a risk factor, and you're just overlaying another 2 risk factors, weight and waist height, on top of that, which is why you tend to see that as people get older among the Black community, it's so rare for them not to either be on hypertension medication or diabetes medication. The other one that risk factor is ethnicity, which we've already been over laboring, so I won't go over that again. Another risk factor is your medical history. People who have history of blood pressure tend to have a higher risk of having a high blood glucose level, of developing type 2 diabetes. And then the last and final risk factor that we'll talk about, which is my favorite, is your lifestyle. So excessive consumption of alcohol, smoking, and things like that can also increase your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Now, overall principle, if you're trying to prevent diabetes, if you're trying to reduce your exposure or your risk of developing diabetes, is 3 basic principles that you already know. Honestly, is eating balanced and varied diets, it is losing weight if you are overweight, and it is being physically active. If you look at all the risk factors I talked about earlier, apart from maybe family history and ethnicity that you don't have a choice over, you will notice that these 3 things that I mentioned, weight, physical activity, and eating an healthy and varied diet, you will notice that it's linked to most of the other risk factors of diabetes. So this is just the overarching principle if you're trying to prevent diabetes. In the next video, we will be talking specifically about the healthy eating tips you need to prevent diabetes, and those eating tips you need if you're already living with diabetes to help you manage your blood glucose level. I hope you found this information useful. I'm trying not to overlabor it and overload you with information, so we are breaking this into multiple videos. So click on the subscribe button so that you can get notified when the subsequent videos are published. Thank you once again for stopping by. Don't forget to share this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.